The Venezuelan government deployed the Republic Plan to guarantee the safety of citizens and to secure progress of the upcoming regional and legislative elections of May 25th. And voting is underway in the constituency of St. James North in Barbados in a by-election following the resignation of incumbent Labour Party Member of Parliament Edmund Hinkson. And the Palestinian Authority has reported an Israeli attack on a diplomatic delegation in the northern part of the occupied West Bank. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Wednesday, the Venezuelan Armed Forces deployed the Republic Plan to guarantee the safety of citizens and the secure progress of the upcoming regional and legislative elections of May 25th. In the face of destabilization attempts by the far-right opposition unveiled by the government in the past week, the Republic operation aims at securing democratic exercise with the deployment of 412,000 troops nationwide. In addition, a total of 1,419 senior and regional prosecutors will guarantee the progress of the strategic election across the 15,748 election centers. The operation Kickstart, headed by the sectoral vice president of Political Sovereignty, Security and Peace, Vladimir Padrino, seeks to ensure the safety of over 21.5 million Venezuelans called to vote at 27,736 polling stations across the country on May 25th. And thanks to the joint effort of the governments of Antigua and Barbuda and Venezuela, an Antiguan woman who had been missing for more than 3 decades was reunited with her family on Tuesday. More on the story with our journalist Garfield Burford.
The moment a private jet from Venezuela arrived at DC Bird International Airport carrying an Antiguan citizen who had been missing and presumed dead. After 32 years and 5 months, a return to Antigua fit for a fairy tale for Denise Odelia Charles. Charles is welcomed by Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown, as well as Minister for Social and Urban Transformation Honorable Roden Turner and other officials at VC Bird International Airport on Tuesday morning.
Thanks to God first and you and my family.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Good to have you back home.
And Mr. Raul.
Yes.
Help from
Minister. Yeah, thank you again, man. And give our male president my best. Yeah, good.
Absolutely, thank you.
Nice. Blessings. Yeah, blessings. Good.
The government of Antigua and Barbuda had sponsored a trip to Venezuela for her brother Terrence Charles and nephew Tishon Watson to accompany Denise Charles back to Antigua. Back on Antiguan soil, the tears flowed.
When I saw her in the airport, when you go for her, on the other side of Venezuela, she gave me a big hug. And tears come to my eyes to see my sister again.
I go to the bathroom and I saw her and I pretend not. So I tell him, look, we go to the bathroom because I actually can't believe. Yeah. So I tell him, you wait for the bag. I'm going to the bathroom.
So I went up first. I saw when I come out of the plane and come to the aisle.
I took to the picture.
I spot her.
He went down.
She spot me too.
Yeah.
So I go for the bag and let's go out. She come into my arms, hug me, squeeze me. That was so emotional. So she happy to be home because it's her family daily.
The expressions of gratitude for making this possible also flowed.
And I got the Prime Minister and that was it. It was so kind.
Yes.
Pleasant.
Prime Minister, good man.
I'm happy here.
And you have some people that talk on the negative side of it and so on, and maybe didn't really believe that this was actually true. And I have to say, thanks to the Prime Minister, he's a good man. He did a very good job. And he worked on the situation really quickly.
The circumstances surrounding Charles ending up in Venezuela and being missing for so long are not yet clear. Overwhelmed with emotion, Tuesday was determined not the best time to go into those details. Those are expected to come in the days and weeks ahead. Instead, she and her family are immersed in the tearful, surreal reunion. Her sister, Joycelyn, was the one who saw her profile on social media and reached out.
I'm looking for her all the time. Then, I just go in my profile messenger and I found her. See, and I text Paul, didn't get an answer. And then I went in the profile again, and then I see the pastor. The pastor that went to church, and I sent her a friend request that she accepted.
Wow. The connection made, it was over to the authorities in St. John's and Caracas to get to work on the arrangements. Charles from Grace Farm is now fluent in Spanish, having taught herself over 10 of those years she was in the Bolivarian Republic.
I learned the Spanish, and now I talk more Spanish than English.
¿Cómo se siente en España? ¿Cómo está?
Bien, gracias.
¿Está feliz?
Outside, another group of her family was overjoyed to have seen her, embraces and words fitting for 32 years of absence. Prime Minister Honourable Gaston Brown is delighted to have played a part in making this possible.
We're elated, and we're just happy to accommodate her. Our government would have intervened, and we would have collaborated with the government of Venezuela. President Maduro has been extremely benevolent in making air transportation available. He organized a special charter to fly her to Antigua, herself and her family, who we sponsored to travel to Venezuela to repatriate her here. So we're very pleased to have her back, and we make sure we put the necessary steps in place to have her fully integrated or reintegrated within our society. In fact, we have guaranteed her a job. We're quite sure that she can assist us in many areas. She's also, she has language skills. She speaks Spanish fluently, so that in itself is an asset.
A similar message from Minister for Social and Urban Transformation, Honourable Roden Turner.
It's a message of hope. Because I know there are other persons who have gone missing in Antigua and Barbados. And to see a family member return home after 32 years, 5 months, it's a miracle. We just have to thank God for something like that. And the Ministry of Social Transformation, we'll be taking an active role in providing some assistance to the family and to the lady to reintegrate back into Antigua and Barbados society.
As the bus leaves with Denise and members of her family, a new chapter begins.
I know topics voting is underway in the constituency of St. James North in Barbados in a by-election following the resignation of incumbent Labour Party Member of Parliament Edmund Hinkson. Precisely Hinkson, who had represented the constituency in the House of Assembly since the 2013 general election, resigned from the elected position April 25th. That same day, Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced the date of the polls, with President Sandra Mason issuing a day later a writ for the election to take place. Nominees were registered on May 6, with the 4 elected candidates being Chad Blackman from the Barbados Labour Party, Felicia Dujon from the Democratic Labour Party, Alex Mitchell from the Bajan Free Party, and Stephanie Williams from the Community Empowerment Party. In this context, thousands of constituents head to the polls, which will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time, in which constitutes the first by-election held after Barbados became a republic. We now have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Ecuador, the number of missing persons is increasing as 1,728 disappearances were reported in the first quarter of the year alone. One of the most impactful cases is that of David Romo, unresolved for more than 11 years. Our colleague Gabriela Mena with the details.
Entre enero y marzo de 2025 en Ecuador por día,
Between January and March 2025, 20 complaints of disappearances were filed in Ecuador per day. 2 more than in the same period of 2024, according to data from the Association of Families and Friends of Disappeared Persons. For the association's representative, this reflects how the crisis of insecurity has worsened, which also shows the impunity on the part of the authorities. In the first quarter of the year, 1,728 reports of disappearances were reported. Of these, 353 remain open and 94 were located lifeless.
Y 94 fueron localizadas sin vida.
If we talk about impunity, let us not forget that this justice system is a corrupt system. The Association of Relatives and Friends of Disappeared Persons in Ecuador has been denouncing it, but nobody has paid attention to us, so that is why we do not have an investigation. You will see, we do not have justice, we do not have memory, we do not have reparation, nor do we have the right to non-repetition, and these cases continue to occur, and every day there are many more. The fact that a prosecutor changes agents violates justice, the human right that all missing persons have with their families.
Pero no es todo. En 2024 se reportaron.
But that's not all. In 2024, 6,875 complaints were reported, an approximate of 18 per day. Of that total, according to the association, 838 cases continue without answer, 394 were found lifeless. Disappearances in Ecuador continue to rise and there are hundreds of unpunished cases.
Centenares de casos impunes. Mientras tanto, en Ecuador, la ciudadanía se mantiene con preocupación y temor, miedo a que.
Meanwhile, in Ecuador, citizens remain worried and fearful, afraid that insecurity will allow one of their loved ones or close people to go out one day and never return home. The number of missing persons continues to increase. Gayas, for example, accounted for 39.6% of the missing persons found dead. Pichincha with 15.2%, and Esmeraldas, 8.1%.
Y Esmeraldas, el 8.1%.
La preocupación tenemos todos los días.
We worry every day because in certain parts of the country insecurities are fatal. We all have that fear of going out and not coming back.
De pronto salir y no regresar.
It is a scary situation. It has not happened to me or to anyone I know, but I have heard of cases.
La preocupación y el miedo es claro, y a esto se suma la preocupación de.
The concern and fear is clear, and to this is added the concern of the citizens for the forced disappearances committed by military patrols. According to the Permanent Human Rights Committee of Guayaquil, 33 such cases have been documented in 2024 alone, including the case of the 4 children of Guayaquil, where 16 military personnel are charged with the forced disappearance and murder of the 4 minors.
A los 4 menores. Gabriela Mena, teleSUR Ecuador.
On Wednesday, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said that the missile defense shield announced by U.S. President Donald Trump undermines global stability. The spokesman stated that Beijing has asked Washington to abandon the development and deployment of a global missile defense system as soon as possible. China claims that the U.S. plan aims to create an unrestricted defense system and proposes increasing research, development, and deployment of all types of missiles interceptor systems. This would increase the risk of a global arms race. On Tuesday, the U.S. President announced the creation of the Gold Dome system, which is expected to cost $175 billion.
The U.S. puts its own interests first by seeking its absolute security, violating the principle no country's security should come at the expense of others. This undermines global strategic balance. China expresses serious concern over it. We urge Washington to abandon the development and deployment of a global missile defense system ASAP. We recommend the U.S. takes concrete actions to enhance strategic mutual trust among powers and uphold global stability.
Beijing confirmed Wednesday that the Ministers of Economy and Commerce of China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have successfully concluded negotiations to bolster the free trade zone. On a video conference, the aforesaid authorities met Tuesday to nearing settlement of negotiations that began in November 2022. In this context, they signed CAFTA 3.0 regarding the China-Asian Free Trade Area. Thus, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce advanced they were one step away from signing the updating protocol. Overall, Chinese representatives and the 10 Southeast Asian countries assure CAFTA 3.0 agreement will send a strong message of support for free trade and open cooperation. In other news, a suicide attack in Pakistan left 6 people, including children, dead and nearly 40 others wounded. The Pakistani authorities reported that the attack had targeted a school bus carrying a large number of students from the Armed Forces public schools. They also confirmed that an investigation had been launched at the scene, while local hospitals were placed on high alert due to the severity of the injuries sustained. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif strongly condemned the cowardly attack and expressed his deep sadness at the death of 4 children. Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the Kursk region for the first time since its liberation. During his tour of the region on Tuesday, the Russian leader visited the construction site of the new Kursk 2 nuclear power plant in the city of Kurchatov. President Putin also held a meeting with Governor Alexander Hinstein, as well as the heads of local municipalities and volunteers who have been helping those affected by the Kiev incursion. The Russian head of state said the country stands united as a team, adding that it was the unquestionable success of all their endeavors. The president said that the situation in Kursk remains difficult even after its full liberation, as Ukrainian forces continue their attempts to move towards the Russian border. We have a second short break coming up before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, we're going to be right back. Welcome back. The Palestinian authorities has reported an Israeli attack on a diplomatic delegation in northern part of the occupied West Bank. The attack took place in Jenin refugee camp, where a delegation of Arab and European ambassadors and consuls were assessing the scale of the humanitarian crisis in the area. The Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that the attack constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and the fundamental principles of diplomatic relations set out in the Vienna Convention. The institution also stated that the Zionist occupation forces intended to intimidate diplomats. Currently, no injuries have been reported. In this context, the government of Venezuela condemned the incident through its foreign minister Ivan Hill. The denunciation stresses that Venezuela condemns in the strongest possible terms the Israeli attack on an Arab-European diplomatic delegation in Jenin. Shooting at ambassadors and consuls confirms that Israel does not respect any rule of international law. They think they are above everything, above life itself, and above diplomacy. In addition, the Venezuelan authorities stress this is barbarism. It is genocide led by the war criminal Netanyahu. It is a war against humanity itself, and close by denouncing how even in these circumstances we see the complicit silence of some governments. It is as criminal as the bullets and bombs falling on the Palestinian people. Also in Palestine, authorities registered at least 326 people dead from malnutrition and lack of medicine as a result of the ironclad Israeli blockade since March 2nd. Authorities said 58 people died from malnutrition, 242 from food and medicine shortages, and 26 kidney patients died due to lack of adequate nutritional care. Palestinian health authorities reiterate the dire situation in the Strip's hospitals due to ongoing Israeli attacks and the shortage of life-saving medicines and equipment. Israel allowed the entry this week of dozens of truckloads of supplies to the territory. However, the UN said that it is insufficient to mitigate the humanitarian crisis in the coastal enclave. Meanwhile, the Israeli side continues to violate its commitments and obligations by continuing to prevent the entry of life-saving aid through the Kerem Shalom crossing south of the Gaza Strip for the third day in a row. The occupation has stopped the entry of aid without any legal or humanitarian justification at a time when the enclave is suffering from a severe shortage of food, medicine, and fuel. Israel has pursued a policy of systematic starvation against an estimated 2.4 million Palestinians. And on Wednesday, protesters gathered in front of the Italian parliament in Rome in solidarity with Palestine and to demand an end to Israel's attacks on Gaza. Waving Palestinian flags and holding banners to call for a ceasefire, protesters accused Israel of genocide, condemning the destruction of hospitals and the Zionist regime's use of hunger as a weapon of war. Demonstrators denounced Tel Aviv's actions as an ongoing crime against humanity. The mobilizations happen as Israeli strikes continue to pound the Gaza Strip after the intensification of the offensive despite a surge in international anger. And the Sudanese army reported that after strategic operations, it maintains control of most of the African nation's territory. Army authorities say it took full control of Greater Khartoum region that includes the capital after a long-running battle against the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. After recent operations, the Sudanese army has also succeeded in driving the RSF out of 4 other states. Sudan plunged into civil war on April 15, 2023, when tensions between the military and the RSF exploded into open war. The war has killed at least 24,000 people, though the number is likely far higher. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.